wish to make opening statement now?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
All right, the court will recognize Ms. Palmer for opening statement by the defense.
May I proceed, Your Honor? I'm sorry, may I proceed, Your Honor?
You may, excuse me.
Thank you, Your Honor. The evidence will show that this indeed was a horrible crime, a terrible thing that happened to Jessica Chambers that day. Looks like it's right at about 3 years ago, December. And what happened was that Ms. Chambers actually came walking down Heron Road, where everything occurred that day. She was alert. She was able to speak. And what happened is that she encountered one of the first volunteer firefighters who was dispatched that day. Actually, what happened is that the firefighter that came, it was about 3, and from Cortland Volunteer Fire. And what happened is that they saw that the car was burning, but they did not see Jessica at that time. And so I would imagine a few minutes later, after they got there and tried to get the car contained as far as the burn and the fire, then that's when they saw Jessica walking up. After reaching her, taking care of her, getting her on the ground, laying her in an area where they could talk to her so they could try to do something to make things better for her. It's at that point that they started to speak with her. Now, the evidence will show that for at least the next 20 minutes or so, that there were at least 8 responders who spoke to her. And the evidence will show that Jessica Chambers repeatedly talked to 8 different people, if not more. They asked what her name was. Jessica, she said. They asked, who did this to you? And what she did was she told them who did this to her. Now, I know Mr. Champion talked to you about the fact that maybe her throat had soot or that she was not able to speak. But the evidence will show that many of the first responders completed reports. And what they put in their reports, you'll find that it's in quotes, where she said, Eric set me on fire. In quotations. She didn't say any other name. She didn't mention any other person. What she said was that Eric did this to me. Now, we had many responders out there. Cortland Fire. We had Pope Fire, because they're close in the area. And they got out there quickly, very fast. They were on the scene very quickly. They all talked to her and found out by asking her at a point when she could speak continuously. Now, can you imagine, as minutes passed, responder after responder talked to her? And we can't diminish this fact. Now, I know that Mr. Champion stated to you that everything else will show that it will change your mind about this. I submit to you that nothing that the state will present to you will change your mind. Because once you do hear from each one of these responders who are out there, once you hear exactly how they spoke to her, how she said she didn't know the person's last name. She knew Quentin. His name is Quentin Tellis. She did not say that day. Now, not a single piece of evidence that will be presented by the state, Again, I know Mr. Champion took quite a bit of time to spell out what they intend to show you, or what the evidence will show. I submit to you that each one of the things he said to you today is inconsistent. Specifically, statements from Quentin. He spoke to law enforcement, lots of law enforcement. You'll find that it's all different agencies: FBI, Panola County, MBI, ATF, things I couldn't necessarily remember what they stood for. He voluntarily spoke to all law enforcement whenever they wanted to talk to him. And not once did he confess. As a matter of fact, you'll see that he insisted that this was not something he would do, and he got upset about it. Cell phone records. A lot of times speaking about cell phone records. You'll find that the expert will tell you that it's a small area. We have Cortland, where the crime occurred, and then we have Batesville, another area. It's small. There's not even a cell phone site or a tower. And I don't venture to go into that right now, because there will be a witness that they'll present, and he's going to tell you the data in the Cortland area where the crime occurred was just not as good as it possibly or was in Batesville. So the cellular phone records are just not as reliable as what you would think. Further, you cannot pinpoint a person. The evidence is going to show you cannot pinpoint a person, their location, as to where they are. I have my cell phone in my hand now. Can't necessarily say Darla Palmer is standing right here with her cell phone in front of 12 jurors. We have video footage that they spoke about at the store right across the street from his house. And they have to admit to you that, or he did already, he said that what you can see is headlights on a car, vehicles coming back and forth. Now, most importantly, Green Dot card was purchased. Indeed, it was. Records that were subpoenaed or found by the state indicate that the very time frame that Quentin Tellis was supposed to have been committing this crime, he was actually in the store. I believe it's 7:53 or 7:58. These Green Dot records will show that he was entirely someplace else purchasing the Green Dot card at the time they say the crime happened. And so we'll show you that. Now again, none of this evidence will show beyond a reasonable doubt. And I know we did talk about that yesterday. Reasonable doubt. This case is full of reasonable doubt. And the point is that Ms. Chambers did not say Quentin set her on fire. She just did not say that. And we cannot ignore that. We can't look and say that later medically that prevented her from speaking when you have a multiple amount of individuals, first responders, saying this is what she said. Finally, the evidence will show that Eric is not on trial here today. He should be. And for this reason, we will ask that you find Quentin Tellis not guilty as a result. Thank you.